Bob of the morning, everybody, and welcome to Popcorn Culture. As always, I am your one true host, Jazzy J, joined as usual by my brother, the one true co-host, Buzzy Benjamin B. And Ben, I think it's hilarious that I managed to be the host on today, which is your birthday!
I was literally going to say, oh my gosh. So, yeah, we our meddlers over on Patreon, we're having a hootin' and hollering good time. In case anybody's ever curious, the way that we determine who the podcast host is we every person who signs up over on Patreon is able to cast their vote for either Buzzy B or Jazzy J. We have respective tiers for both of us, so you can do all the different tiers. Just we have like one option for you or for me, and then we also have like our mega tier, which allows somebody like 100 votes at once.
Yeah,
and every once in a while, people will hop in there because they know that it's like close enough. Otherwise,
they like to cause that wonderful Jazzy J Chaos.
That's it. Yeah. Bringer of Chaos indeed is really your go-to play. But we had GoFest last week based on listenership. You would have heard the episode from last week, and I guess that they were like, oh, it'll be so much fun because of GoFest. Like, we'll change things up. And I was like, yeah, because it's my birthday. When it was Jay's birthday, he got to be host. But it's okay. I'm at the end of the day, the thing we always say is that we win together. So
that's right. That's true.
That's all that
true.
matters. So we're on the same team. We're on the same team,
but I am the one true host of this episode.
You do have the as always in there.
I know. You know.
As always.
It's funny because it's almost never true.
It's all right. It's all right. Either which way, congrats on hostmanship. And as long as we're talking about the Patreon, we are bringing back the D&D episode.
Yeah, we are.
I'm so excited about. And basically last year at this time, we had our set of dice. We did a custom set of dice set. And so this year around, we're doing, it's a similar vein. There's still a dice involved, but it's like a rocks glass, if you can imagine. So picture yourself like a clear, short glass that can hold fluids extremely well, and like literally like half like impaled into the side of the glass. I don't know how to describe this because you can't impale glass, but like it's like the glass has been melted, and inserted into that melt point is a D20 with a 20 perfectly facing out, and then etched onto the glass as well will be the Popcorn Culture logo. So in accompaniment for the rocks glass, you will also get a digital download of a brand new episode of D&D.
Yeah, we're gonna do another in-office D&D campaign in here. Super excited. By the way, if you couldn't follow what Ben was saying, it's just a rocks glass with a D20 melted into the side.
Oh, did I not say it that simply? I was just like, my brain was like literally. I swear this is happening right now. Like, I think that my memory is actively like on the fritz.
Yeah.
Because partially, I think because the month of October has been nothing shy of Nutter Butters for us.
It has been super extremely busy between the GoFest meetup and the live trivia show, and you just got back from Las Vegas.
Yes, I did. I did. So once again, I got to go to the When We Were Young music festival in Las Vegas, which was just so much fun. I feel like I got to see Blink-182 live, which was like the dream kind of.
Oh, absolutely.
It was. It's so funny with that band in particular because I always think about this. Like, I feel like this is always the thing that's on my mind. Is sort of like when you find things that are kind of like newly popular, it's like they're a fad, it's like they're popular now, but like how will they hold up to the test of time? Like that is like the true measure of art. Like nothing can be deemed, well, I mean it can be, but like, things become art when they have survived for large lengths of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like interesting because some stuff will they'll be really popular and then it'll sort of like fade, and then it's like the nostalgia will like bring it back.
Yes, and I think that was like sort of interesting to me because I feel like when I was in high school, I remember all the guys who were in in bands and stuff like that were huge fans of like 80s hard rock.
Yeah.
And that was always one of those things where it was kind of like I always felt as though each of those kids' parents really liked that music, and so that was what they were told was like this is like real music, because this is like what they had listened to, like, you know, versus all this like newfangled pop music and radio music
and boy bands and stuff.
Exactly. And so, you know, as ever, you know, I think growing up, I remember having, we had the Green Day Dookie album, like,
we did.
super early. And I absolutely, you know, like I loved that. I remember, you know, just tuning in all the time, listening to it. But then I remember, actually, I think our younger brother Tyler was the first person to get like a Blink-182 album on CD. And I remember just like being like, man, this sounds so cool, like so much fun.
Yeah.
But for years, it never felt like you could say like Blink-182 is my favorite band. Like it always felt like, it's like, that's not really like, well, actually for me, it felt perfectly fitting because it was like, everybody always knows I'm just not very good at music anyway. So it's like, of course it is.
Yeah.
oh, sweet Ben, you know, like.
I think as much as I've liked Blink-182 just forever, but yeah, I think the first person I ever knew who like was like just like gushing over them was I doubt you're listening, but her name was Katie, and she was in my 6th grade class.
Okay.
And
shout out to Katie.
And at the time, probably not true anymore, but I say this with all of the you know, the mindset of a 12-year-old in like the 90s, but she was the blondest person I've ever met. Just I mean, I think, is blonde one of those words? It's like you can't call people blonde anymore. Like that's like a I don't know.
I have literally no idea. I feel like there's like a great. I have always felt like blondes have done a fantastic job of branding as
right,
as a hairstyle color appearance.
Hairstyle color, you know? Look. I love
people
blonde
just
hair.
tried to bring it down. With
people are trying. Look, all the jokes about blonde jokes are just people being jealous of blonde hair.
Right,
exactly.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, look, my wife is blonde, and all of my children are blonder than the sun. Okay, so. I have nothing against anyone with blonde hair, but there were, you know, I don't know if blonde jokes are as much of a thing anymore, but this girl was like a blonde joke, you know.
Okay.
And this was my first introduction to Blink-182, and I think that was, it's like one of those, like, this was your introduction point, so you have a lot of like restructuring to do since then.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I think probably like the real thing there is that like occasionally if you went to high school with somebody or like in your formative years, someone who you didn't get on with as well introduced you into a concept, and that was your foray into that concept, then like it always sort of like had an impact on how you interpreted, you know, who this band to be, because or concept or you know, piece of pop culture media, whatever, because I had a similar thing where I remember like in band class when I was in 7th and in 8th grade, like and by 8th grade I was like in the advanced band and I played percussion, and in my class with me was a 7th grade girl who was really into like Fall Out Boy, and I think that as a result I was like, you know, and it seems ridiculous now because I was probably like 8 months older than this person, you know, it's like they were
7th grader.
I know, yeah, like she was not younger than me really, but like I think that
teenagers cannot be dictated coolness by people younger than them.
Right, yeah, it's just like maybe that's just like a law of nature or something.
Yeah.
But like, you know, so in my head as I like grew up and older and everything, like I always just sort of had like an idea of like what was like embodied by fandom of this particular band was. But then like, you know, you go and you see a lot of these bands like rock out in concert and you're like, wow, okay, like they're going for it, like they are shredding right now. This is cool. Like it's like it is completely reframing my entire perspective on like what I thought I knew about this band this whole time.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so it's just super, super interesting, you know, to sort of like to have those, you know, mental restructurings falling into place. But anyway, so that impacted your view of Blink-182 from 6th grade for you would have been like what, like 1999?
Yeah, like 19. That sounds about right. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very early days.
That would
small things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. But so for me, that was like one of those. I remember when I was in college, actually, one of my professors had this thing where it was so important to him that you made it to office hours. And this was something that like as a college student, I should have taken more advantage of and just basically never did. But professors offer office hours where you can go and they are available to answer questions that you might have about the coursework or the class in general or the field in general.
Yeah.
Where you can just go and have like more of like a one-on-one discussion with somebody who's very smart about a particular subject. And so it was very important to him that you came to within like the first week, you had to book a session and go to his office hours so that you knew where his office was.
Right.
And he asked like a myriad of questions. Some of them had to do with major. Some of them had to do with like, why did you choose this particular college route or whatever. But the last question he asked was like, who is your favorite band or what was your favorite song? And I remember like sitting in that class, and I can go back to the moment clear as day, like looking at the sheet of paper and being like, I can't put Blink-182. What will he think of me? Like it's like, this is going to, like, I can't say that,
This will impact my whole future.
I know. Yes.
It's going on my permanent record.
It was like, I have the answer in my heart, and then I have what I believe is the correct answer in terms of how this very smart professor will interpret me as a student.
Oh my gosh. So this is reminding me of a recent therapy session I had.
Okay.
Do you want to know one of my least favorite like icebreaker questions ever?
Least favorite icebreaker questions ever. Hang on, let me think.
Okay.
What's your favorite breakfast food?
No.
What's your favorite meal?
No.
Neither of these.
Oh boy, I have stories about those too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? What do people ask about? The other thing I hate for icebreakers is when they do the like round robin thing where it's like, okay, like you're going to say your name and then do a dance move or something like that, and it's like, like, I'm Ben, and then you do like jazz hands or something. Like the next person's like, okay, so that's Ben, jazz hands, and it's like, and I'm Jay, and
that's it. Yeah, right out of dance moves.
It's like,
oh no,
I only know one. Can I also
double jazz hands down low?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so what's your least favorite icebreaker question?
It is, if you were stranded on a deserted island, what 3 items would you bring with you?
This is such a prime example of there is the correct answer to the question, and then there is like,
but correct how?
Well, that's a good point.
Exactly.
It's like okay, what I need to know is, are you actually like if I'm trying to survive, it's probably like a piece of rope, a tarp, and like a sharp blade, machete, large knife of sorts.
I find this to be such an unproductive question.
Yeah,
because it's like it's so hard to know what the person is truly asking you. Like, are they because almost no matter what, when this question comes up, it immediately turns into what would you need to survive?
Yes,
and it's like I don't think that's really what the question is trying to get. Like, if you could only if you could only bring 3 items to a deserted island, what would they be? And it's like I don't think the person's asking like, what do you think are the 3 most important survival tools?
Right. Yeah. For like a therapy lesson, like asking somebody like, hey, how would you survive if you had very little is probably, it feels like, it's like, that's not fun.
Yeah. So it's like, and not only very little, but you have very limited options. You can bring almost anything, but just there's a limited quantity.
Right. Yeah. Right. It also immediately feels like because I think what they're really trying to say is they're trying to, like trick you into revealing the things that are otherwise like so important to you that you're like, I could not live without. But then like I think that the other part of me it would be like, let's say like, we'll go with the example from before, like, so Blink-182 favorite band or whatever. It's like if you were to say like, it's like, okay, 3 things. It's like you bringing that, Blink-182 album with you. You're gonna have a compact disc, and a player, so you can make sure you can like listen to it forever and ever and ever. It's like the rational part of my brain still can't get out of desert island mode, and it'd be like, doesn't matter if that's my favorite band. I know that I can live without listening to that music for the rest of my life. Like, I know I will survive.
There's also, or you could be like, well, I can't live without, or maybe you even feel like I want to bring a Blink-182 CD or something, but it would be like, but then I got to use my other item on CD player.
Oh,
so
yeah, right. Yeah. So it's like, okay, you can package those together.
Yeah, can you package those together? It feels like the better question would just be like, what are your 3, if you were stranded on a desert island, everything else being, food and shelter being taken care of, what 3, but you can only bring 3 books, what would you bring,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But so like this, and then of course, this was my therapist asked me the other day was, what 3 items would you bring? And I was like, I literally could not answer. We spent like 20 minutes on it. And I was just like, I don't like, especially in this setting where it's like, what are you trying to learn about me right now? And it's like honestly probably what she's learning is that like and I think it's like ultimately I'm still end up being very revealing about myself by not being able to answer the question. It's like, what does that say about me?
It's like it appears that commitment could be a bit of an issue because you can't commit to any objects.
Can't commit to any. That's not even it. It's like, I think what I sort of like started unpacking, this was the interesting part, I think what I started unpacking was that like I don't know what, like when someone asks me that, what's important to me in that interaction is that my responses are like the correct, impressive responses. That like I was like, oh, I've got an item that doesn't land in the survival category, but also you haven't thought of before.
Yeah, I know. And again, it's like like from your therapist's standpoint, like they are just trying to get a better understanding of who you are as to better help you.
Yeah.
And they're probably not like getting to the end of the day and being like, man, I heard the coolest answer ever today. Let me explain to you the sheer uniqueness that this human being brought to the table.
But in my mind, that is what they're going to do.
I know.
Like,
yeah,
I want them to be so impressed with my like clever take on this question, because I know it's a common question. And it's like, I feel like it's like my brain can't not gamify it in that way.
Right.
It's like, I don't want, it's not like, to me, it's not what would I genuinely want to bring. It is, how can I win the game of answering this question better than people?
Right. Yeah. In therapy, in a one-on-one private conversation.
One-on-one conversation where she's not allowed to tell other people what I said.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that like probably even on some massive level, and I would suspect that your therapist is able to recognize this particular trait, but like it probably, to me, what it says would be that like you're still not quite at the stage of letting your guard down enough to allow like the true vulnerability to like pour through.
Yeah.
Which I have this exact same problem constantly. Yeah. Which is that like, it's like you're supposed to go and it's supposed to be like pure open book, but being a pure open book is a freaking skill.
It's hard.
Like it is, because you have to genuinely be letting go, letting your guard down, trusting this person completely, and understanding that like they have your best interest at heart.
Well, let me just tell you, but I'm not even sure that that's necessarily it, because it's not like I internally was like, I have something I want to say, I just don't feel like I can trust you with the information.
Sure.
It's like I've been thinking about it for 4 weeks now. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this is the only thing I've landed on. And like, even in my brain, I'm like, I wonder if this is a good answer. Like, I feel like it almost satisfies both sides of it, where it's like, most people wouldn't say this, but it sort of falls into the survival camp and also falls into like, this is the sort of thing that's important to you camp. And the answer is a pillow.
A pillow.
A pillow.
Okay.
Because how are you going to sleep?
How are you going to
sleep?
This is, you know what? This is a good point. Yeah. It's like, I mean, at the end of the day, you still need to be able to sleep. Yeah. And the more properly rested that you are, assuming that you have food and shelter also taken care of, then your ability to be productive the next day is somewhat dependent on your ability to sleep.
So sometimes maybe just like pillow and blanket is my answer, is my new answer to this question. Because this is one of those things that anytime I've gone camping, back GMA days when we would just, take off in the middle of the night, there would so often be the case where you've got 15 minutes to pack, because we got to get out the door. It's already 10:30 at night,
right?
Or miss the time out there, and it'd be like, let me throw some things together. Let me run down and grab my sleeping bag out of the basement and be like, there's a camping pillow. Do I want to add that weight to my bag? By weight, I mean like less than an ounce. Like camping pillows, extremely not heavy.
Extremely not. They can be largish.
They can be.
I mean, they're packed down pretty small, but yeah.
Granted, we weren't going on like giant, like super long hikes. So, like weight was not a concern, but it would be the sort of thing where like I'd be trying to reason it out and be like, I'm being smart by not including the pillow or something. But inevitably, I would regret not bringing the pillow.
I know, yeah. Pillows are a very vital one. However, I still feel like this is maybe potentially revealing about some of your inner psychology at the moment, because I feel like at the moment, one of the things that you've got is like the boys waking you up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, I think that's like a daily, maybe not a daily struggle. Struggle seems like the wrong word, but like a factor.
It happened last night.
But like, like a major factor in your life. So like, I'd be curious if you were like, let's say you're like empty nest stage of, the process in life, or even just dating back to pre having kids at home without like the midnight wake up calls and stuff like that. Do you think pillow would still be on the list then?
I think so, because
okay, that's good to know.
Because the more I've like focused on this question, I think I just pulled pillow from deeper in my past, and I like remembered it's like what was really nagging me is that I remembered having an answer to it, and I think that was my old answer to it, and I was like, yes, I think that still works. But now I feel like I'm like stealing the answer from myself or something, you know.
there's a name of the wind
There's
piece.
it's a very when you stole the answer from yourself, yeah.
Right, yeah. But I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
But this is like the constant introspection that I feel like I'm always myself going through day in, day out, is that it's like I feel like I can always sort of tell that this question is looming around me. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, especially like, you know, when I see people like extremely passionate about like this, that, or the other, like activity that they're engaged in or something that they've committed to, or something that they like really, really, really love, you know, and like I'll step back and I can't tell myself whether or not it's like a grass is always greener type of situation where anybody looking at me might be like, oh man, and you know, he's got like the YouTube channel and like his family and like, you know, these activities and like it may be the case that like from anybody else looking at my lifestyle or you know, my life construct might be like might see all these things clear as day, like all the important things. But then like because I live inside of like my own system, it's like well, you can't say like obviously like family is extremely important to me, but like, you know, does like how do you incorporate that into like your 3 items question?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know,
No, you're stranded. You're alone. People aren't on the options.
people, yeah, you can't bring people.
Right.
Yeah.
So then it's like, oh, I don't want a picture of my family.
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, you didn't say a picture of family, doesn't care. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I mean, that's like the big challenge. Okay, so you got pillow.
I got pillow.
Was there anything else you
No.
were able to?
This is a month of thinking. This is where I've landed.
1 month.
I know. You see the trouble I'm having?
I do.
And like, I mean, bless my therapist. They were like trying to help me out so hard. They're like, does it help if it's like 5 items instead of 3? And I was like, not really. Just like as if like maybe I'm having trouble narrowing down or something. And it's like, and then she like takes the reverse tack. It's like, what if it's just 1? It's like maybe you just can't think of anything. It's
Right,
just like,
yeah.
And it's just like it's closer to helping.
Yeah, right. Like just one thing.
One thing.
Can I say a volleyball?
Yeah, exactly. You're full cast away.
Yeah. No, this honestly, it's very interesting for me because I feel like it reminds me earlier this year when I went to go get my tattoo. You know, I was so excited because I you know, like as through all of my like my quests and everything and like my own hang-ups and dilemmas and sort of like the knowledge that I knew I wanted to get one but didn't know what to get, and then I found an artist and like everything I saw that the artist did, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like ridiculously profound and it's so amazing and it like speaks to me in like all these ways that I can't describe. And you know, it was sort of like I felt like I had like stumbled into what most people who go to like art exhibitions like already know about their passions in life. Like when they look at something, it just like means something back to them. And I felt like when I was like looking at this particular person's art, I was like, this is like what's happening right now. Like I see the meaning in the image, and because I can see the meaning, it's like that's what I've always wanted. And then I feel like when I got there, you know, I started like going through this whole process, and I told him right away, I was like, I really don't know like what I plan to do, what I hope to do, what I want from this experience. Like I mean, I literally took videos of myself from the hotel room the night before being like, I go in 12 hours and I still don't know like what I'm going to say. And so like, I think the same thing, I think we got in there and I think he really, 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 really thought like, are you just afraid to like tell me what you actually want? Like, are you like somehow like ashamed that what you want is like a barbed wire, like sleeve or something like that? And you feel like, you know, it's like, is it the case that you're afraid someone will judge you for what you want? Or are you afraid that I will, you know, like have feelings one way or another? And the answer was like, no. It's like, I don't know how to tell you that I literally don't know. And so at some point in time, I feel like he looked at me and he's like, you got to say something. And I was like, this is the problem, you know? Like I mean, it's so weird how how there's this like just gigantic blockade that can like live up there and stand in the way of like your ability to communicate whatever is like so deep down inside of you.
Right.
So anyway, I know that that's not remotely helpful. I'm just saying I relate.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, yeah. So if I ever think of the other 2 items, I'll let you know.
Yeah, keep me posted. It's like that'll be like the ultimate pop episode.
The
other two
items. Like that I discovered another item I'm bringing to the island with my pillow.
Okay, so maybe what we'll do, we'll lob it out to the little colonels out there. So if you guys have any feedback on this particular subject, what 3 items would you bring on the desert island? You have to be by yourself.
You can assume like food and shelter are taken care of.
And water.
Yeah.
Like the basic necessities in order to like
but
exist.
no pillows, obviously, because then you wouldn't need to bring one. So
Right,
there's no
right.
pillows on the island.
Yeah, that needs to be very crystal clear.
Yeah, come on.
Email all of your responses to popcornculturepod@gmail.com. Deadly curious. But anyway, we'll move on from there. Transition?
Transition.
Okay, Jay, so I'm kind of excited about a detail that you have listed here in the show notes.
Yeah,
which is
tell
that
me.
you started reading Harry Potter to young Lukester.
I did start reading Harry Potter to Luke. So he's presently 5. He'll turn 6 next month.
Yeah,
So it's
coming
pretty
up.
close. And we started about 4 nights ago or so. So we're doing about a chapter a night.
Okay.
And it was one of those where it was like, I was maybe waiting for him to be like a little bit older before I started. Like we'd been reading Charlotte's Web for a little while. We didn't actually get to the end before we just started Harry Potter. But
Okay.
But part of why I wanted to read Charlotte's Web was because, one, he had gone and seen the play in person, so he was like semi-familiar with the story, which I thought would help him like, focus on what was happening on like this longer like chapter book,
Right,
more or less.
especially, it's like, if you've got like some mental visuals as to like who these characters are and stuff, that kind of goes a long way.
That can go. And I think he was like following along. I mean, Charlotte's Web is like designed for kids anyway.
Yeah.
So that was good. But what happened was that like down in my office, I've got like all of my various Harry Potter books that like I've collected over the years.
Yeah.
Which is not like a ton, but we've got like every year my mother-in-law will get me the next like illustrated edition Harry Potter book, which they're up to the first 5, I think, at this point. So
yes.
I don't think even all 7 are out yet, but I've got all the ones that are. I've got like the Mina Lima Philosopher's Stone version, which is like the coolest version. It has got like there's like pictures on almost every single page. There's like interactive like pop-up things, and there's like unfoldable things. Like you get to the letter, you can unfold the entire Hogwarts letter and then fold it right back in. When you get to Diagon Alley, you can open it up and it takes up like 2 feet.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's massive. It's so cool. And then I've got the 20th anniversary Gryffindor editions, because that is the ones that when we went to London and we were at the Platform 9 3/4 store, that's when Luke was like 3 weeks old or something. I was like, oh my God, I have to get him his first Harry Potter book.
Yes.
And so I got him those. And so we've got the first 3 of the Gryffindor set.
Okay, cool.
Down there. So anyway, one of Luke's favorite things to do is to go just rummage around through every single thing in the office.
Amazing.
Yeah. And he'll always come across the Harry Potter books, and he'll always be like, they look so impressive on the outside that they're very attractive to him as like something to like take. And he knows the 20th anniversary ones are his, but they're up on the top shelf because I'm like, don't mess with them,
Right.
I don't want you to go ruining these special things I got for you.
Right. Like this is the
before
type
you're
of
ready.
thing, like, if you were to like bring them to college or somewhere someday, it's like you want them to like be intact and not having like his 5-year-old version of himself, tear a page or fold them in or spell something on it, like in the name of like, well, they're mine, so I can do whatever I want with them. It's
Exactly.
like, you'll still appreciate them someday. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nonetheless, the illustrated copies are like sort of down low. So sometimes I'll just like pull them off and start flipping through them and just looking at the pictures in general. And, based on what we do for a living, it's almost impossible not to be exposed to Harry Potter stuff in some way.
Yeah.
We've got like wands around the house. I've got a lot of t-shirts that have got Harry Potter things on them.
Right.
It comes up a lot,
Yes.
obviously.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he knows, a little bit about Harry Potter things. And so the other day he just had like he had all the different books down. He's like flipping through the Mina Lima one, doing all the pop-up ones. And I think specifically what he found at like near the back of that one, there's like a pop-up of the chessboard, the giant chessboard.
Oh yeah. Of
And
course, yeah.
Luke loves some chess. So that was like so exciting to him. And he was just like, all of a sudden he just had it in his brain that he just so badly wanted me to read him Harry Potter. He's like, I just want to know what the story is. I just want to know what's going on,
Right.
And it was just like, and it was like, I'm having this like crazy internal struggle like going on inside because like, on the one hand, like dream come true. Like my little boy is like begging me to read him Harry Potter.
Right.
I was like,
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't entirely know if you're like old enough to like understand the story if I start reading it. Like, are you going to be able to pay attention and follow along with what's happening? And I don't want to like ruin the first read through with like, I don't really remember. I remember Dad read them to me. I don't want to read them again because I've already read them, but I don't actually remember what happened.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And So, and then I'm also just like, you know, by the time you get like several books in, it's like a little bit scary. Maybe if you're like 5.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that there's certainly some pretty heavy stuff. I mean, it feels like, I mean, even really Chamber of Secrets. I mean, you know, the idea of there being a giant snake slithering through the castle that, you know, can potentially be deadly.
Yeah.
You know, it's not terrifying. And
right.
then Prisoner of Azkaban, just like, hey, there's an escaped murderer on the loose who's looking for a 13-year-old.
Right.
Like, you know, it's like, oh, great. Yeah, good.
And a werewolf.
Yeah. He's pretty friendly though.
Pretty friendly. Friendly werewolf until he's a werewolf.
Then it's kind of dangerous.
That's
but
good.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Like, I mean, it does seem like the like 5 does still seem on the young end of the spectrum, and you also don't want to, like, yeah, you're right. Like, you don't want to end up in like accidentally bursting the bubble where it's sort of like, it's like, well, now you know what happens. Like, now you know it's not Snape the whole time,
right?
You know, even just for book 1, so that like when you read it when you're like, you know, 9 or 10, you know, when you will have a better comprehension for what all is going on, it's like you like a lot of like the like, what? No way! Like moments have kind of already been like,
like maybe you already know they're coming.
Yeah, like have you already like spoiled it somehow?
Right, like you've sort of spoiled it, but didn't like really appreciate the spoiler because you didn't really experience it firsthand to its fullest capacity.
Yeah, and you know the interesting thing about this from like my perspective is like I remember watching Star Wars as like a little kid, but like not really having any idea what the actual plot was about. You know, or like a lot of like the important scenes to like explaining what's actually going on are not the scenes that stand out to like a little kid. But I liked the lightsabers and the blasters
fights and X-wings and
the Millennium Falcon and
Death Star boom.
Right, yeah, Ewoks and whatnot. Like, you know, there's just like all like the little details where it's like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool, like this is so fun. But like I don't even think I really knew the plot for another 10 years.
Yeah, but to be fair, that didn't stop any of us from loving Star Wars, deeply as kids.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So there's that. But so anyway, I was like, there's one night he's just like asking me over and over, like, can we please read it? And I was like, let me, it's, first of all, as you're asking me, it's like 9 o'clock at night, it's the weekend. We've stayed up late. You're already cranky. I'm not starting on a whim like this,
Right,
like
right.
you don't
not like
first
this.
of all, like you don't understand how emotional it is for me to be reading it to you,
Right.
like, like you can't possibly understand the impact this story has had on your life without you realizing it.
Right.
Yeah. So like, I need to like mentally prepare, and I wanted to like talk to Beth, and we sort of talked about it, and we were like, well, I mean, he just like really, really wanted to. Like the next morning I like got out of the shower and he's like standing outside my bathroom door, just like on his knees, holding the book up, just like, Daddy, please read it to me. And I was just like, I don't know what more I could possibly be hoping for.
Right, it's like, okay, this feels like the moment.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, all right. Let's go. Let me get dressed. Put some clothes on here.
Yeah. Imagine if like Luke's first ever interaction, you're just like in a towel.
Yeah, I'm just in a towel. I'm just like, all right, let's go read.
Yeah.
So yeah, go get some coffee. We sat down and we like went and read the first chapter and stuff. And it was, I mean, it's hard to know if he's really following it like that much. Like it is like the chapters are a little long, I think, to like maintain his like attention, especially without like the pictures and stuff. But like the Mina Lima version of the book does have a lot of pictures on it. So there's that. But the other, like, I don't know if this is even an issue or just sort of like a funny, cute thing, but like he will want to like have me be reading one book and for him to be holding another one. He just wants to like look at the pages as I'm reading it, as if he's reading it too.
Okay.
So he'll be like, did you turn a page? And it'll be like, yes, I turned a page. But like, because one book is bigger than the other, the pages don't match up exactly.
Okay.
So it's a little bit confusing. And then like, he'll just want to switch which book we're looking at. So it's like, I think it would just be better if we had one book and he was just like forced to sit and listen rather than be like distracted by what he's holding in his hand all the time.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But so I think we are like halfway through the 4th chapter. So Harry has been delivered to the Dursleys. He has talked to the boa constrictor at the zoo. They've gone to the hut on the rock. Hagrid has showed up and he's told him he's a wizard.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's been, that's all happened so far. And it's like, I keep getting through these like big parts and I'm like, choking up, like trying to get through the next sentence. And he's just like, mama, he's like over there. And I'm like, no, this is an important part. And it's like, you're a wizard, Harry,
Right.
This is like a big deal. But it's like, to Luke's like, he already knows Harry's a wizard a little bit.
Right. It's like, this is not shocking at all.
Not shocking information to him as it was for me when I first read the books, which is like, I look back, I'm like, how did I not realize?
Right. How old was I?
How old was I? I don't know. But what is hilarious, I think, is that the other thing is that on the outside cover of the books, there's like or especially the Mina Lima one, like in the four corners of the cover, there's like a little symbol for Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw. And he's just sort of like looking at all of them and he's like, what's this one? I like this one. And it's like the Slytherin one. So, I know. So since like in the past week, Luke has full on committed to Slytherin house, like with no prompting from me,
Wow.
He is just like all about it. And I'm like, just so you know, while we're reading, the Slytherins will be the bad guys. Like in real life, not really, but in the book, they're the bad guys. Just so you know,
and try not to be terribly alarmed.
Yeah,
the main Slytherin that we know looks exactly like you.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh my god, you were like just such a little Malfoy going. Right now. Yeah. So channeling it. It's like so cute though. And then this was like. This was just like a random probability fell in my lap, like a lottery thing. But like he has seen like on, the TikTok filters before, like, sometimes it'll be just like, it'll like do like a random selector thing on your head.
Yeah.
And he's like, can you do like a Slytherin, like TikTok thing or something? And I was just like, is there like a TikTok filter that will sort you into a house? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, probably, almost 1,000%.
Yes. Yeah, it's like I don't know for sure, but there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There absolutely that exists. And he's like, can we just do it? And I'm like, okay, sure. And I'm like, we've got like a 1 in 4 chance that this is going to be the best roll ever. And it's going to land on Slytherin and he's going to be so happy with it.
Right.
So I pull it up and I find that, exactly what we're looking for. It's like a little thing that puts a sorting hat on you and it just flips through the houses and lands on one,
Right.
That's all we're looking for. But as I point it at him, it's like I'm still in the picture too. And it turns out it can do 2 people at once. So all of a sudden, just like, I'm like, learning how the filter works on the fly and it just starts going, and all of a sudden it like pops down and filters down and it lands both of us in Slytherin. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a good roll.
Oh man, that is so fun.
I know. So I mean, he was so happy about it too. So fun. So so we're big on Slytherin. I'm like, and then he's like, what house is mommy? I'm like, mommy's in Gryffindor. Yeah, so there's that, and I'm like, and Harry's in Gryffindor, just so you know. Like, so I don't want you to be disappointed that the main character is going to be in the other house.
But don't worry, there's that one redeeming guy.
There is, yes. Slughorn.
Kind of.
Sort of.
Eventually.
Draco.
Right.
Draco's mom's okay. Yeah. So that's been very fun. So it's like it's so funny, like dealing with him being like so about Slytherin, like as like a 5-year-old though, because like me as an adult who's like very publicly a Slytherin, it's like I know that people who like interact with me as a Slytherin are like old enough to understand that like the villainous side of it has sort of died down in the fandom.
Yes.
But like he is like, he has come home from school where it's like, you have to like write a sentence in your journal and it'll be like, his sentence is like, I'm in Slytherin, And I'm like, now from most 5-year-old perspectives, or like probably 5 to 10, if you're familiar with the Harry Potter books, you probably think of Slytherin as the bad guy. Or if you're like the teacher, you probably think the students think Slytherins are the bad guy.
Right. It's like you do like write a letter.
I know. I'm like, just so you know. So, but he's like so excited about it. It's like, I don't care. Obviously this is great news for me.
Yes. No. Well, and what I think would be really funny, and I mean, you don't have to commit to this idea. It's like a curiosity rolling through my head. But I know that when you were buying him the 25th anniversary,
the 20th anniversary,
20th, you like when Lukester was born, he was a NICU baby, which was extremely sad, very scary, and like through that process and then our subsequent like very unbelievable opportunity where we were invited out by Google to do the History of Magic sort of like exhibit and collaboration with Google Arts and Culture was like, I think so if Luke was born on November, like end of November, and then we went on like mid-January, like January 15th.
So he's like, it was like end of November, November 29th. So he was like 5 weeks old or something.
Right. So it was he was basically, and he'd only been home
for like 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks. Yeah. So like when we went, it was kind of like one of those opportunities where it's like, well, we have to go because like this is like this is what we had been hoping for basically the whole time.
Yeah. We're being asked to collaborate with Google and Pottermore. So
at the same time.
Yeah. At the same time.
Like, okay. Yeah. We're in.
We're in.
But so the idea was, or the point is that I'm trying to make is that at that point in time, like we definitely saw Luke as a Gryffindor because it was like he had been so brave as like a little, little baby, like making it through like this kind of scary situation and sort of like tumultuous time and everything and getting home. And so it was like, he definitely embodied that Gryffindor sentiment. And as such, I know that you've collected the first 3 books for him. It would be kind of interesting though, if like, now that like at age 5, if he's like, I'm a Slytherin, like if you got like the 4th book in the Slytherin colors.
Slytherin colors.
And then, because the thing about me is that like I feel like Luke is very intelligent.
Oh yeah.
And so like I could totally
he's
see
not dumb.
Yeah, I could totally see him embracing the Ravenclaw banner at some point as well. So what I just think would be kind of interesting or fascinating would be like, if by the time he does go to college or wherever, eventually at some point in time, and he's got a collection of books, and it's like, why are the first 3 Gryffindor and then a Slytherin and then like Ravenclaws?
Like a mix.
Yeah, it's sort of like
no Hufflepuff.
Yeah, maybe not. It's just like, but it would be so funny because I feel like it would be like, as I grew up, my dad kept buying me the book that he felt like at the time most accurately represented my personality. And so at the beginning, there was this reason for the Gryffindors. And then, when I first was introduced to it, when we first reading it, I really attached on to the Slytherins. And then as I got older and, like whatever, and not that he absolutely will become a Ravenclaw or anything like that, but
right. Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. It would be cool if like, he sort of like ultimately, cause that's been my whole thing with like the whole sorting is like, it's really fun to embody your house and to embrace your colors and, to have your comrades out there in the world who sort of like resonate like with your spot in things and everything. But I feel like as I've gotten older, I mean, and this about me, I've gone through every house, like, I mean, I at different points in time, I just literally am like, it's like, what I've like, we have the mugs. So at the end of each year for the past several years, we've done like the animal mugs for Carlin Brothers Coffee, where we've got like one for each, respective house by color. And so here at the office, we have several sets of them. And so every morning when I'm grabbing my coffee, it's like, I will go through like month-long phases where I will only pick up the red mug.
Right.
And then I'll go through like month-long phases where I'm always picking up the yellow mug. Yeah. And it's just sort of like, depending on like where I'm at in life and like my circumstances around me, it's like I've sort of like embraced all of them. So that's sort of been like one of those things where like I love the sorting and the sorting is so fun. And if you identify heavily like with any of the houses, then it's like perfect and it's awesome. Yeah. But I also feel like the further into it I get, the more I love all 4 of them.
Right.
It's like, which I feel like on some levels maybe a little bit the point. Like, none of, it's like you said before, none of them are actually evil. Like if you identify as Slytherin, that doesn't make you a bad person.
Right.
It just means like your values align, with that. Or you like green.
Exactly. I think mostly Luke likes snakes. Or he likes the snake logo is what it seems like he likes a lot.
I know that also I was gonna say is very interesting to me because I feel like so far he's still like maybe a little hazy on like some of the dogs in the family. Like our parents have Dougal, who's actually named after Dougal McGregor.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But Professor McGonagall's once love. Yeah,
exactly.
But Dougal is a boxer and full of energy and can be a little intimidating if you're a small child and, at eye level with him and stuff. But like, it'd be interesting to me if like somehow Luke was having more trouble with dogs and then completely cool with snakes.
I mean, I think if there was a snake on, the ground in front of him or in his room, he would be super afraid of it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that makes sense.
Yeah,
No
no doubt. But maybe just the drawings of it look cool or something.
It does look
I don't
pretty
know.
cool. Pretty
at
boss.
At the moment, we're heavy Slytherin.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's pretty fun. Even when he came to the GoFest booth, he was like looking at all the foil shirts, and he found like the green one, and I was like, "Ooh, this is the Slytherin one." He was like, and he was like very excited about it. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome. That's so cool.
So-
That is so cool. Okay, well, little Lukester, Slytherin.
There you go.
I love it.
So actually, I've been trying to think about this since you brought up the idea of having like a mixed set of 20th anniversary books. So if you're listening and you don't know, the 20th anniversary Harry Potter books, you can buy all 7 books. There's like 7 Gryffindor versions of the book and 7 Slytherin versions of the book.
Right. And
yeah.
the pages on the exterior, like if you've ever seen like gold foil pages, these are they're inked but printed as like alternating like red and yellow stripes or green and silver stripes.
So if you were going to go through and you just wanted to like theme them and get get the house version of the book for what made the most sense for each year, how would you do it?
Ooh.
Well, I think Philosopher's Stone is definitely the Gryffindor copy.
It feels like it. And then, Chamber of Secrets, I actually feel like is a little bit of a coin flip because
Yeah.
it seems like the whole idea is that all of Chamber, Harry's sort of struggling with whether or not he's supposed to be in Slytherin.
Right.
But it's also the whole Heir of Slytherin book. That's like
Right.
the primary, so I think you could go Slytherin.
You could go Slytherin, yeah.
for book 2.
I think so. Prisoner feels like you're just right back to Gryffindor.
It does, because you're
Yeah.
really getting like the story of Sirius and Lupin and
Peter and James.
and so
and
it's
Harry. Yeah, so
Yeah.
very Gryffindor book.
right.
And then I think for Goblet, you could it's almost coin flip because like between Hufflepuff and Slytherin.
I would say
this time
Hufflepuff
thing.
because you got Cedric.
Well, because if you don't do Hufflepuff for this one, you're not going to do it for any of them.
you got to give.
Yeah, it's
I
like
think-
if you want at least one of each, you got to give this one. But Voldemort comes back.
I know. But I think you have to give it to Cedric because I do feel like that's another one of those. Like there's we've talked about it before in a video on Super Carlin Brothers before, but one of my all-time favorite lines from the movies of all things is at the wake for Cedric. When Dumbledore describes him as a fierce friend.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know why, but it's like that particular sentiment to me has always Cedric was always cool. He's definitely like a very nice person to Harry, despite, some of the circumstances or possibly like the fact that Harry is like kind of getting a little bit of like the attention that the Hogwarts champion should have been getting.
Yeah.
But I feel like it always really like made like Cedric like come together completely as a character for me, where I was like, man, like he was just a good person. Like this is just a good person who was a bystander of this really terrible set of events. So anyway, I would give that to Hufflepuff House.
Okay,
No
okay.
problem at all.
Cool.
Order of the Phoenix, you've got the intro to Luna. Which is like, it's maybe not the most like pivotal hinge, for the overall story.
But you've got the introduction of Luna, and he's like briefly dating Cho.
That's true.
So you could probably go Ravenclaw for Order of the Phoenix.
I think you can make that argument.
Yeah.
But then if you get to Half-Blood Prince, it feels like it's Slughorn and Snape.
Yeah, it's like, that one's Slytherin.
It's
Yeah, you
Slytherin.
get the Slytherin copy. And then Deathly Hallows is just definitely Gryffindor.
Just has to be Gryffindor.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So there you go. I think that's pretty good.
That's
That'd be
pretty
a fun
good.
little set.
That would be a fun little set. It's
Yeah.
like each one kind of like respectively. I like how we laid them all out too. I think that works really well.
All right.
That would make for a rather beautiful display.
It
as
would,
well.
yeah. It'd be cool. Be like, why didn't you get all the same? And be like, well, let me tell you.
I'm so glad you asked.
Glad
It's
you
kinda-
brought up a lot of points I'd like to argue about.
What an excellent icebreaker. By the way, what would you bring on Desert Island?
I'd bring these books. Yeah.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. That's actually not a terrible
It's not
answer.
bad. Yeah. I would bring a set of Harry Potter books.
Right.
'cause,
That counts as one.
Yeah.
Even though
That's
it's 7.
one.
Right. They come in a box.
Since they come in a box together.
Right, it's
Let's
fine.
face it.
I
I've read
glued-
them this many times thus far. I haven't gotten tired of them. So.
Right. I glued them together. All
Put
the
'em
ends.
together. Yeah. Just big, like a wombo dictionary.
Just
yeah.
like, hold on.
Hold on.
Yeah, I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, very cool. Very cool. So I'm glad.
Okay.
I'm glad that you made this huge step forward. That's
Yes,
exciting.
I know. I'll keep you posted. Who knows? Hopefully we can just make it through Philosopher's Stone unscathed, and we don't like stall out at any point. But we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. You got one more transition left in you?
Sure.
Transition. Okay, Jay, let me tell you about something that I did. So I had my fun-filled weekend.
Yes.
Of course, where I was off to Las Vegas, which was just a hooting and hollering good time. I did a bunch of really cool things while I was there. I went to an ice bar where like they give you parkas and the whole room is ice, and the glass that they give you your drink in is made of ice, and it was just overall like a really cool experience, especially for someone who, like me, loves ice.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. Yes.
Yeah, that was like Allie's like surprise for me. She was sort of like, so I booked a thing, and I was like, oh man,
Booked a thing.
But we also went to like a really cool restaurant where it wasn't like a Michelin star, but it was like that kind of vibe where like they I was telling you a little bit about it earlier, but like one of the dishes that they gave you was like a stone shot glass that had like whipped peas in it, almost like mashed potatoes, but they were like beautifully displayed, topped with like a creamy, savory whipped cream type thing on top and stuff like that. So like every bite you took was like not big or filling, but every single bite was like an experience, and it was like, well, that's really neat. And
that is cool.
Yeah, it was super neat. So it was like a whole like plate. Now what is it called when you have like each of you buy like a menu, and then they just come through and like they just keep bringing you stuff as the night goes on. It's tapas basically, but anyway, it was extremely good. We went to the festival, went to a Titanic exhibit. We went to an exhibit called Bodies, which was fascinating, but it was like scientific breakdown of the human bodies and anatomy, and like all these unbelievable displays of like what nerves look like and all sorts of wild
I have
stuff.
a Berenstain Bear book that does that.
Oh wow! Okay, well I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah,
see how they compare.
Oh my gosh, they go to the doctor and they're like, the body is an amazing thing. It's got a system of nerves and muscles and blood, and it's like, but like each one is accompanied by this like very like a little too detailed drawing of like the insides of a Berenstain Bear.
Oh yeah. No, I could see that being. It's like, okay, maybe we've gone too. Maybe we're too informative.
I know. I'm like, can we turn the page? Jeez.
Yeah. I think that like we were all sort of blown away. They have like this unbelievable display of like how blood moves through the body, and I think so it was me, Alice, sister-in-law Sammy, and brother-in-law Mike, and I think me, Allie, and Sammy were all like, wow, blood doesn't just sort of like float around, and you're not just like a big bag of blood. It's like it's a flowing through
like
all
in your
these
veins and stuff.
It's like veins and like all the capillaries, and I'm sure I'm not saying the right words, but anyway.
Yeah, no, it's like that. You say it, and it's like when I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, blood travels through veins, but it's like if you cut yourself anywhere at all, you will bleed.
Yes, and they had like the full display of like what the inner workings of your body is. So it's like when you cut yourself, it's like you're cutting one of these like tubes that carries blood through your body. It's not just floating underneath your skin. And Mike was like, yeah, guys, yeah. Are you serious? You don't know this right now? And we were like, we didn't really know how this worked,
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not gonna. I mean, like I know what veins are, but I just sort of thought that blood was just sort of like underneath the skin,
skin.
You're just like a big rapper. Anyway, long story long though, I'm giving the list of all the
It must be such tiny tubes.
They're real small.
There's got to be, because like
I'm glad you're appreciking the gravity of the situation.
No, yeah. I mean, it's like, because I'm like, okay, so if you just removed your skin, that means the blood wouldn't just go everywhere. But like, I've had situations where I've just peeled skin off, and it's like, and you're bleeding.
Yeah,
so it's like just the act of peeling it must rip the tubes.
Right. Well, and I think that like especially there's a lot of them in your hands, which is why like if you cut like a finger or something, it might be more inclined to like bleed more versus like your shin or something like that. I don't know. I've cut my shin before pretty badly. And
Yes, you have.
Yeah, you were there.
I was there.
You took me to the hospital. I got stitches. Sorry, it was the middle of the night. Anyway, I bring all of this up because while I was in Vegas, I did lots of really interesting and cool things. But one night in the middle of the night, I woke up and I couldn't sleep. And I was like, I was laying there, and it was just sort of like one of those like times where you wake up and you're like hot and it's just like, and like my mouth was parched, and I was just like, I don't know, I need to go and like move or something, and like I just can't lay here because I'm so uncomfortable, just because it feels like I
didn't have a pillow.
I didn't have a pillow. Disrupted the flow entirely.
Yeah.
So I was just like, whatever. And normally in the middle of the night, I am terrible at this particular instance. Like if I wake up in the middle of the night, I will not allow myself to go and do anything at all for any reason. Like a lot of times it might even be like, I really need to go to the bathroom, and like I'll be like, but you probably shouldn't get up because you might make noise and disturb somebody, and like you can't have that. So it's like don't move, just lay here and just like sweat and stare at the ceiling fan all night. It'll be fine.
Right. You just have to wait until 7, then you can go pee.
Right. Yeah. The sun will awake, and when it does, then you're allowed to move about the house.
Yeah.
But like, when Allie wakes up in the middle of the night, she's like I'll just like hear her, get out of bed and go downstairs and like watch TV or something, or like scroll on her phone, or I don't know, go to the bathroom because you're allowed to do that in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
All of these things. But no, for me, I'm just like, I'm usually stuck there. But so I was in the hotel room, and the view that we had from the hotel room was of the festival grounds. And so I'm like out walking around, and I like, got a drink of water, and I'm like just sort of looking out at everything that's going on, like taking in like all the people at night who like go and like do things on the festival grounds. Like actually with like Disney World, for example, I've always thought it'd be like really interesting just to be like a fly on the wall at night, like when all the people come in to like pressure wash the sidewalks, and the gardeners do all the gardening type things. And it's like people are there all day, and then you think like, oh, but at night it's empty. And it's like, but it's not empty.
It's not empty.
Everybody's there fixing stuff, painting benches and whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, it was cool just to like sit there and watch that. So I'm like, all right, I need something to like, sort of distract myself or whatever, like way to take in the evening. So I've been thinking so much about my splitting wood, gym idea where like, we go out and we just like split wood and talk about our feelings and stuff.
Of course.
Classic wood splitting activities.
Yeah.
And so I literally Googled, I was like, videos of people splitting wood.
Yeah.
And what popped up was it was like an older gentleman who was just, like out on his land or whatever. And he just seemed like a really nice guy. And he quoted Robert Frost. And I was like, this guy's so fun. What a cool thing. And it's like, and now I'm going to split some wood. And so he goes through and he's like explaining like how he's using like a specific kind of maul versus like an axe, and where to strike on the log in order to like actually get the best split. And it's not the middle, it's actually like the edges and all these types of things. And so I'm just like, this is so cool. And I get to sort of like the end of the video, and I was like, it was like a 7-minute long video, so this is not like a huge commitment of my time so far. And he's like, now I'm no Buckin Billy Ray Smith or anything like that, but I hope you enjoyed today's video, and comment, like, and subscribe. And I was like, wait a second, Buckin Billy Ray Smith. I was like, do you mean to tell me that there is like a known YouTuber for wood splitting?
Oh,
and
Buckin Billy Ray.
Buckin Billy Ray Smith. And so I'm like, what was that? Buckin. So I'm like Googling it, and it pops up, and right away, it's like I'm the guy's got like 500,000 views, and I was like, okay, that's kind of, or not 500,000 views, 500,000 subscribers, and I'm like, looking at one of his videos, and it's got hundreds of thousands of views, and I click on it, and it sort of starts, and it's campy for sure, but like it starts, and there's this video of this like it pans in, and there's like a huge pile of like axe handles in this like rugged old barn looking thing, and underneath is Buckin Billy Ray Smith, who like pops out from underneath, and he's like, like a monster emerging from the ground or something. And he goes outside, and he starts like swinging the axe and like splitting these logs and stuff like that. And I'm like, what did I just stumble into?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is truly an odd experience. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like this. And so he starts talking though, and he's just like the friendliest person you have ever witnessed ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's super Canadian, super nice, and loves splitting wood and loves old axes. And so he's just like, as these like videos are unfolding, they're like 30-minute videos, and they're not like specifically instructional videos. He doesn't have like an obvious like objective, but like he'll go out there and uncut. He'll just like uncut. That's a splitting joke for you right there.
Yeah.
But he'll just like start talking about stuff or the world or like whatever, and I'm like, this is oddly peaceful. And so I watched like 5 or 6 of these like 30-minute videos.
Just in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night from like, like 3 to 5 a.m. or something like that. And I was like, this was the best thing ever. And like, I'm literally to the point where I was like, maybe my mission in life was to find this particular person so that somehow I can write like a screenplay about it and have Chris Pratt, who the guy looks like, play the character of Buckin Billy Ray Smith.
Buckin Billy Ray.
It was like the most enabling experience I've ever had towards this idea of just splitting wood for fun, because in this, like,
I feel like, why do you need permission to do it?
I don't know why I need permission to do it. Like, I don't have proximity to do it. I feel like sometimes it feels like mildly dangerous, or otherwise just like such a novelty exertion of energy, where it's like the idea of going, and I mean, it's not that different from marathon training where you're going out and intentionally making yourself incredibly exhausted in the name of achieving some goal. Yeah. Which is way more widely accepted. But it was so funny to me because I feel like, I've talked about this since the pop has been going on. I feel like I've brought up wood splitting a million times as like a concept or a pastime or whatever. But like, as I was watching this, as I was even like reading the comments of all of these people, like, for example, at one point in time, Buckin Billy Ray Smith goes over to his dad's house, because of course he does, to help him split wood. That's the subject of this video. It was like, I went over to dad's. I brought my wood splitter with me. We're going to split some stuff by hand. He gets there and his dad's using a Fisker's axe, which is something you might buy at like Lowe's or something. And everything, like, he's always like rebuilding axes. So I was like, oh, he's about to dog on the Fisker's axe. Not at all. They were just like, oh, you got the Fiskars. That's so cool. How are you liking it? I'm like, it's just the whole thing was just amazing to me. I was enamored with it. And I actually, despite the fact that it is what I do for a living, I have never been a grand consumer of YouTube-based content before. Like, I've probably watched more Bucking Billy Ray Smith videos at this point than most of the YouTubers that like we know. Like, I was like, this is the most unusual thing that's ever happened to me. But I was like, I can't believe that of this wild weekend experience, watching these videos in the middle of the night by myself in front of the window was like a necessary piece of what made the trip worth it. It was like,
that's fun. I'm
gonna have to show it to you.
I'm very curious about it now. Honestly, what I kind of like about the story is the first guy you found, and like where you said he's just sort of talking and he said, I'm no Buckin Billy Ray Smith. Yeah. Like, because like in his mind, it's like, it's super clear to him that like, I this is just me projecting maybe, but it's like, I'm imagining that to him, his impression is that everyone watching him is just like, you're just copying Buckin Billy Ray Smith, man.
Oh,
what are you doing?
Sure.
And he's hyper, like almost certainly that's inspired him to do what he's doing.
Right.
Or whatever. And it's like, in his mind, it's like, it's so clear that I am trying to recreate this and that no one could like my content for me, but I'll like notice it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, or maybe that's true in that section of the internet. I don't know much about wood splitting or whatever, but it reminds me like the early days of Super Carlin Brothers. Like, I used to watch a lot of the channel Wheezy Waiter.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And he just had this running gag in like a lot of his videos where he'd be like, the coffee's ready. I love it when the coffee's ready.
Yes.
And like, so I remember like in some of the early videos, like I would, like we'd be making these videos at like, 7 at night. So sometimes I would just brew coffee.
Yeah.
And it would be like, I'd hear the beeper go off and I would literally like just mid script be like, I'd like just make that joke to the camera. Like, how everyone knows, everyone who would be watching me clearly is subscribed to Wheezy Waiter, one of the most successful people in the world,
Right, yes, yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, it will be lost on nobody at all. And it was like, come to find out, it's like, I don't think almost anybody got the reference.
Like anybody knew that what you were doing was like a Wheezy Waiter thing.
Right, that guy was doing like a Wheezy Waiter bit. And like my mind, I was like, it's so risky to say that because people are gonna like, think I'm just trying to like copy him or something. But then, I did it like 2 or 3 times. I was like, I think people just thought it was just my joke.
Right.
And I'm like, no, this is impossible,
Well, so on that exact note, so the other thing we were doing, of course, was we basically emulated the Vlog Brothers format.
Yeah.
And so like that was kind of like one of those like big things as well, where it was like we weren't doing Vlog Brothers, we weren't making their videos. All we were doing was taking like the idea, making our own videos, and
just like using the day-to-day conversation format.
Exactly. Yeah. So it gave us like a framework. It's like a training plan. Again, for like anything, where it's like I followed the same training plan, and that's like what we did. But hilariously, so I've been watching the TV show Welcome to Wrexham.
Yeah.
And it's all about like Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney purchasing the Wrexham Football Club in Wales, and it's honestly, I would just recommend it in general. I think it's just like a fun watch. It talks a lot about like soccer/football culture and sort of like the different ways it's been important and impactful in a variety of from so many different perspectives. Like it's not just sort of like, yeah, soccer, like it's
right.
very informative in a lot of different ways. But actually on the episode I was watching last night, John Green of the Vlogbrothers is in the episode watching the game with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And while they're standing there, Ryan Reynolds is talking to John Green and saying like, yeah, you said to me once upon a time that like soccer is the most important, unimportant thing. And he's like, I've stole that line from you, like, and I've used it a million times or whatever. And John Green, while he's standing there, goes, well, I stole it from like Pope Francis III. Oh. And, so like, it was like one of those things that was so interesting to me because every time Ryan Reynolds says soccer is the most important, unimportant thing, he was quoting John Green, who was quoting the Pope.
Do you think Wheezy Waiter was quoting someone else?
No, not necessarily. But I think what's fascinating about it is that like, it's like, I think more than anything is that like, it's, if there's this thing that means something to you that you can then like, regenerate out into the world, it's sort of like, it's like you're paying like, it's like an homage to the person it came from. It can be flattering, I guess, in that capacity.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was like, I can't believe the way the dominoes just fit together, that we're talking about like early Super Carlin Brothers versus the Vlogbrother related thing. And like, I have this example from literally last night. I was like,
that's
what?
So funny.
That's so wild. But I also just love that sentiment as well. Like soccer is the most important, unimportant thing. Because it doesn't have to be soccer. You don't have to agree with that sentiment. But what I think it recognizes is that, as much as we love certain things in life, they are not all necessarily actively important to the greater ecosystem that we exist within. It's not to disregard the actual problems of the world.
Yeah.
But it's like there can still be important, unimportant things to you, regardless of what those things actually are.
Yeah.
And I feel like those things are usually probably like the flavor of life. They're the things that like, it's probably, again, go back to your desert island question. It's like, it's like that is probably the correct answer to the question. Because food, water, shelter are the most important things. Those things are important for all people at all times. They're at the bottom of the needs pyramid.
Yeah.
But what is the most important, unimportant thing to you?
The most unimportant? Yeah. I mean, I ran through, so it sounds like what are your hobbies, basically? A little sometimes.
Yeah, I love hobbies.
I know. I know. Me too. And I was like, I even brought that up in therapy. I was like, part of me, what I would love to say is like Pokemon cards, but like I wouldn't have anyone to play with.
Pokemon
what
cards
am I going to do?
And an opponent.
And an opponent.
Who can also be my wife.
Yeah. Yeah, so that wasn't a great answer. Yeah, unfortunately for me.
Right. But no, I think it's interesting. Like, if because I think what that does reveal though is that it's like there's a catch that like you're being caught up in the rules, but if like your mind was like, oh, Pokemon cards, like that's something I would love, then it's like then disregard the rules.
Right.
Then like assume that there is an opponent. Like, and a good one.
Yeah.
One that will like be the proper amount of challenging always.
To
like help you like
help you get better.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So that would be the question. Would be like if you had the ability to do literally nothing else except for become increasingly better all the time at playing Pokemon and existing and surviving otherwise, like would that be like the perfect existence?
Yeah, right.
And it's like if so, then it's like maybe don't worry about the rules of the question because the rules don't actually matter. We're all making up the rules to the question from the start anyway.
It's like if you didn't have to do anything else, what would you want to do right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Split wood.
So split wood, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'm bringing an axe.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be such a great answer for you. Be like, I'd bring an axe. It'd be like, no, like it doesn't have to be like survival things. You'd be like, no, not for surviving, for recreation.
for
fun.
Well, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
So maybe I'll put that on my list.
Put that on your list.
You can add Pokemon cards to your pillow.
Yeah.
and I've got an axe.
There we go. Yeah.
Seems like a good place to stop for today. Again, we have the question from earlier as well. What would you bring to the desert island, assuming that there are rules that are somewhat flexible and bendy as needed?
Yeah.
Food, water, shelter, all the necessary like essentials are already accounted for.
The regs.
Yeah. You can email those responses to popcornculturepod@gmail.com. Also, a reminder that we have that D20 infused rocks glass.
Infused.
It has become one with. How did you describe it again? You like
it's just like a rocks glass with a D20 melted into the side.
Melted right into the side.
Yeah.
But it's not glued to it. You
Not
know, it's
glued
like,
to
like,
it.
It's like literally there's like a dimple.
Yeah, and
you
not
know.
not that the D20 has been melted. The glass has been melted.
Oh, good clarifier.
Yeah.
Good clarifier.
Yeah.
Yeah. In addition to that, with the quarterly merch, you will also receive a digital download of a brand new episode with brand new characters and a brand new world, D&D episode that Jay and I will be recording.
That's right.
All of that is available at patreon.com/popcornculture. Be sure to go and check it out. It helps support the show just so very much. But otherwise, guys, until next time.
Pop, pop.